Dear global experts on the shipping and the ship recycling industry gathered in Singapore, dear friends, dear colleagues, good morning. There are times when one would like to be in two places at the same time, but this is unfortunately not possible. I was really looking forward to be with you at the Singapore Ship Recycling Forum, but I have to stay here in Brussels, where we are working on the last details of the new EU recycling regulation, ship recycling regulation, which the College of Commissioners is going to adopt in the coming days. And I promise you that we will ensure that this new regulation becomes available publicly very quickly after adoption. As I had to make the choice not to come to your conference, I am grateful to the organizers for the option to address you via this video message. I'm going to read with a lot of interest the impressions and suggestions that will reach us after the conference. I want to take the opportunity to update you on the state of things as regards ship recycling policy making in Europe and on the underlying reasons. The Commission remains fully committed to make the recycling of EU ships sustainable, and this globally. Our current legislation, as you know, has been circumvented in the past and may be circumvented again in the future. And this is the reason why we have to admit it is not adapted to the technical, legal and economical realities of shipping and ship recycling. As a result, our large commercial ships continue to be recycled too often in unsafe and unsound facilities. Workers are still injured and killed, and the environment is heavily polluted by hazardous substances. We can change this pattern today. We have the possibility to do it, and we have the responsibility of doing it, of improving the current practices worldwide. Ship recycling has a great potential for being a truly sustainable industry. Ship recycling, in addition, provides for thousands of jobs. We have to ensure that these jobs are saved and that the hazardous materials present on board ships are properly identified, removed and treated, instead of being discarded in the environment. The Commission is going to propose a ship recycling regulation, and this anticipating the entry into force of the Hong Kong Convention for large commercial ships sailing under the flag of EU member states. The new regulation will be constructed around the key elements of the Hong Kong Convention, supplementing them with additional elements where this is necessary for effectiveness before the Hong Kong Convention enters itself into force. The key four elements of the EU regulation will therefore be, as for the Hong Kong Convention, the sustainable design of ships, the keeping of an inventory of hazardous materials, the elaboration of recycling plans, and the exclusive use of safe and sound recycling facilities for ship recycling. The criteria under which ship recycling facilities qualify as sustainable under the Hong Kong Convention will also be part of the regulation to be proposed by the European Commission. These proposals, after adoption by the Commission, will go for discussions in the Council of Ministers and in the European Parliament, and should be adopted definitely and will enter into force, depending on the progress of the discussions, in 2013 or 2014. As I said, it will depend on the progress of the discussion of the European Parliament and the Council. Once this regulation is in force, as I said, 2013 or 2014, the European ship owners will have to establish and maintain inventories of hazardous materials and to send their ships only to safe and sound recycling facilities worldwide. This EU regulation will represent an anticipated transposition of the Hong Kong Convention. And until this Hong Kong Convention enters into force, certain safeguards, which will be later provided by the Hong Kong Convention, needs to be transitionally built into the EU regulation. Of course, the possibility is there to revise the EU regulation in the future once the Hong Kong Convention enters into force. Those facilities, ship recycling facilities, which have been recently upgraded up to sustainable recycling standards, or that are willing to invest in order to become sustainable, often located in Asia, will naturally profit from the rules of the Hong Kong Convention. But again, until this convention enters into force, the forthcoming EU regulation will provide an incentive for modern ship recycling facilities. Why? Because EU flag ships, which make up nearly 1/5 of the global merchant fleet tonnage, will have to use these sustainable facilities. The EU regulation will shift a significant part of business to sustainable facilities. These upgraded facilities will be able to pass over the cost of their investments to ship owners in accordance with the polluter pays principle. This will lay the trend which the remaining ships, this is our hope and we are confident, the remaining ships and ship recycling facilities are expected to follow this path once the Hong Kong Convention is in force. Let me reiterate that the EU has been and is a strong supporter of the Hong Kong Convention. This convention was designed specifically for ships and for ships recycling. It's therefore more adapted to ships than our current ship waste regulation. We will do all that is in our power to speed up the entry into force of the convention. And the first step is to ensure that our 27 member states become parties of the convention. To this objective, our intention is to propose, together with this new ship recycling regulation, a decision of the EU Council of Ministers which would oblige our member states to join the convention as soon as it is legally possible for them. We hope that other states, both flag states and recycling states, will join forces with us in this early and quick entry into force of the convention. We have intensified our international efforts and our bilateral talks with this objective in mind. We are fully aware that as the shipping industry is a global industry, it will not be possible to make progress without global rules and without the involvement of all relevant stakeholders. We therefore attach particular importance to the cooperation with ship owners, ship recycling facilities, and with recycling states. If they are not all on board, we will not be able to make the progress we want, and we will not be able to achieve that global ship recycling will be environmentally sound, again, globally. To finish, let me underline again that the Commission is committed to make the recycling of EU ships sustainable in terms of health and security of workers and in terms of environmental impact, and this globally. Thank you very much, and I wish you a fruitful discussion in Singapore.